Welcome back, MTN Giants podcast, reacting to deja vu all over again. The Giants blow another 10-point lead, this time at Detroit. Now, I have to say, I don't want to do the moral victory thing. I said last week, if you watch my video till the end, I was pretty confident that the Lions were going to come in here, score 40 plus, win the game with ease, and really the Giants should have won. I mean, they had separate chances of having over a 90% chance to win this game, and obviously they had the 10-point lead in the early fourth quarter. It was the awesome play. Like, honestly, maybe my favorite Giants play I've seen in a very long time. I guess it was a Philly special type play where Gunnar Olszewski in his first NFL pass throws a touchdown to Jameis Winston, who pretty much ran a curl and came back for a ball, was able to shed a tackle from a linebacker and get in for a touchdown. It was like just something out of a video game. I don't even know if Madden can recreate what we saw in that play, but it was spectacular. But unfortunately, yet another blown lead. Jahmyr Gibbs with the two monster runs, a 49-yard touchdown to make it a 3-point game in the early fourth quarter, and then the first play out of overtime, which I know the big talking point will be, well, where the hell was Dexter Lawrence? He was off the field for that play. DJ Davidson comes in. The linebackers can't tackle. Dane Belton can't take angles. Javon Holland had a chance at him, I think, on that play, or maybe it was the other one, and they don't get him. Now, apparently Dexter Lawrence was nicked up, as they say. That's what Mike Kafka was saying, and we really, I can't combat that. I have no idea what he's playing through, if there's an injury that Dex is playing through. He has not really looked like himself the entire year, so I guess it wouldn't be too shocking to find out in a month or so when the season's over that Dexter Lawrence was playing through some type of injury. But as of right now, we don't know what it is, and so far he just told us he was gonna say what it was. If you watched a video of Mike Kafka talking about it, he was literally about to say what he was nicked up with, and then he caught himself and didn't say it. I was like, come on, man. Like, he was just about to say it. He was like, yeah, Dex was nicked up with, he was just nicked up. I'm like, come on, you were just about to say what it was. So that part was annoying. But yeah, once again, another blown lead. The Giants are actually the first team in the NFL this year eliminated from the playoffs. So no playoffs for the Giants this year. Not a surprise. They're 2-10, and I believe I saw it was an MLF football account, which has almost 400,000 followers. So I want to make sure I'm quoting something real here, because there's so many meme accounts these days with the NBA Centel and all that crap. But this account says that this is the earliest a team has been eliminated from playoff contention since the Jets in the 2020 season, and that was the same season when the Jets were going for Trevor Lawrence, and I think the Jets started out that year like 0-12. So the Giants are the earliest team eliminated from the playoffs since that Jets team, apparently, according to this post. I saw this great tweet from Andrew. It goes by G-Man Galaxy on X, Twitter. He said it was a GIF or GIF. Is it GIF? I still don't know. But it was Eli Manning holding up the Super Bowl trophy in 2011, 2012. And he tweeted, the 2025 Giants if NFL games were only 3 quarters, and it's Eli Manning holding up the trophy. So it's like, it's kind of true. Like, I'm not saying the Giants would obviously win a Super Bowl if games are 3 quarters. It's supposed to be a joke, but at the same time, you think about all the games this team has blown. I saw an NFL memes tweet that put together all these Giants blown leads. There was the 3-point lead in Dallas with 30 seconds to go. There was the 11-point lead in New Orleans in the second quarter. Obviously, the Broncos game where they were up 26-8 with 5 minutes and 19 seconds left. A 20-10 lead at Chicago with just under 4 minutes to go. And today, a 10-point lead with just under 11 minutes to go at Detroit. So I'm not saying the Giants have to win all of these games, but even if they won, let's say 3 out of 5 of them, like, you're talking about a team that looks way more respectable, and they could have been 5-8 or something like that instead of being 2-10 or 5-7. And I have to say, I do like what I saw from Kafka today. There was one specific moment in this game. It's kind of a controversial moment in the game, but it was when Mike Kafka decided to go for it on 4th and goal from the 6 instead of settling for the field goal to go up by 6 points. Now, in hindsight, had they kicked the field goal there, maybe the Giants end up winning this game, but I think in that moment, I do believe it was the right move. Once again, you're up 3, you're on Detroit's 6-yard line. Now, the Giants defense had really good moments in this game. It wasn't perfect, but they had really good moments. I do not trust a single defense in the NFL to stop the Lions from going, because let's say a team on kickoffs nowadays gets to like the 30-yard line, sometimes even further, like the 35. So let's just say the Lions get to the 30-yard line. They would have to go, 30 yards offensively to get back into field goal range? Like, at least if you're going for it on the Lions 6-yard line, you're making them go, let's say 55 yards instead of 30. I think it just makes sense. Even if you went from a 3-point lead to a 6-point lead, it doesn't matter. If they score a touchdown and make the extra point, you're still going to lose. Like, I feel like I'd rather go to overtime than have the Lions go down, score a touchdown, and win the game by 1. So I know it didn't work, and the ball got tipped by Rock Ya-Sin, and Theo Johnson couldn't get it off the deflection. It goes incomplete, and the Lions get the ball back. But in the moment, I really like that call from Mike Kafka. I just think, like, maybe I have like a Madden mindset, but I just think in that moment, given your opponent, because once again, this is not what I would say every single time. I think a lot of it depends on feel of the game, because if you watch my reaction to the Bears game, I was completely on board with what Brian Dable did and kick the 3 points to go up 10 with under 7 minutes to go. Obviously it didn't end up working, but I think in this case, because this game in Chicago was outdoors, the Bears offense looked like crap all day, I just didn't really trust the Bears to go score 2 touchdowns in the final 4 minutes. Well, they did, all right? Shit happens. But in this moment, given this situation where the Lions are arguably the best offense in football. I think when they're home, they are the best offense in football, at least in my opinion. When you're playing in that dome in Detroit, it's scary. And if you have a chance to put them away by converting a 6-yard play, I think you have to do it. So we could look back on it, Monday morning quarterback it, and say, oh, Kafka, so stupid, first-time head coach, take the points. You would have won if you had kicked the field goal. But I think in that moment, he did the right thing. I really have no issue with it. The issue is allowing Jahmyr Gibbs on the first play in overtime to run for a 69-yard touchdown, right? That can't happen. If Dame Belton takes better angles, or Javon Holland, or Okereke, or even if you play Dexter Lawrence instead of DJ Davidson, maybe this doesn't happen. Maybe you get the stop you need and you win the game. So let's dive into it. Offense, defense. We'll go over my notes and some big picture stuff at the end. So I hope you guys enjoy. Of course, leave a like, subscribe, but let's get into it. The Giants gave us 517 yards of offense, 6.7 yards per play. I mean, this was a really good offensive performance. The one downside, of course, was the Jameis Winston interception where they run the bootleg. He had his first read, which I think was the dump off right in front of him, but it was getting defended. He decides to go to the second level and tries to squeeze a throw in there, and it just doesn't work out. It gets undercut and intercepted. And yeah, I mean, that was really the only mistake Jameis made. He did miss a couple throws. He overthrew a couple of corner routes. I think one was to Wandale, one was to Theo, and I think one of them was a penalty anyway, so it didn't matter. But I think Jameis did way more positive things in this game than negative. I mean, the plays he made, like the back of the end zone throw to Hodgins for the touchdown, that was insane. The craziest Jameis play, of course, was the receiving touchdown, but that one play where he ran into Andrew Thomas and spun out of it and made that great throw to the left, where I don't know if that was I'm trying to think because there were so many great Jameis throws, but there was the one deep down the left sideline where Hodgins had to come back for it and made this crazy catch. He had a guy in his face. I think Jameis got hit low as he was throwing this ball, and it looked like it was a floater. It was going to be intercepted, and just Jameis threw that with great anticipation, and it worked. And there's definitely more I'm forgetting about, but I thought Jameis made some really awesome plays in this game, and extended drives and extended plays, and was really good on third down for the most part, and only got sacked one time, which was, of course, the final play of the game. Overall, he had 366 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and took the 1 sack. Gunnar Olszewski, 1 for 1, 33 yards passing, and, of course, the passing touchdown. Rushing-wise, it was Tyrone Tracy. It felt much better than this. Wow, I'm surprised, but it was 20 carries for 62 yards, and it felt much better once again. I really thought Tracy would have I don't know, I figured it'd be 20 for 97 or 100 even. I did not think it was only 62 yards. It felt like Tracy had a much more efficient and productive game than that. I mean, part of it was receiving, of course, that one reception where nobody was within 30 yards of him. That definitely helped his day. But I thought Tracy ran well. I was surprised. It's only 3.1 a carry. And Singletary had a couple of nice runs. He was 14 for 47, only 3.4 per carry. But one thing we've noticed so far, going from Brian Dable to Mike Kafka, Kafka will stick to the run. He does not care if you're getting 2 yards, 3 yards a carry. Like, sometimes the Chiefs do this with Kareem Hunt. It feels like every Kareem Hunt run goes for 2 or 3 yards. But with Kafka so far, it's like he's ran the ball at a very high rate, I feel like, compared to what Brian Daboll was doing. I'm sure there's numbers behind it, and we can get that as more data comes through and some more games are played with Mike Kafka as the actual head coach. So I'm looking, the Giants had 39 carries and 37 passing attempts. So in a game like this where you had so much offense and so many points scored, the Giants also won the time of possession battle by a lot, 37 minutes to Detroit's 28. And time of possession's not everything. I would prefer the drives like Detroit had where Jahmyr Gibbs scores a 70-yard touchdown on the first play. That definitely is better. But at the same time, it also helps to just keep the ball out of a good offense's hands. And there were a couple times where Kafka had, a running play on like a 2nd and 8, 2nd and 10, and it pissed me off, but it felt like for the most part it worked, and it does make these third downs way more manageable. And the Giants overall were 8 for 16 on third down, and it was a better percentage than the Lions, who went 5 for 12 on third down. So I don't want to say Kafka's like winning me over. I still think there should be like a different head coach in here next year, but I would say there's been some positives, and I've been somewhat impressed so far. And obviously the guys are still playing hard. I mean, I talked about last video how a lot of guys had these weird quotes about the personality of Mike Kafka being way more laid back, and I feel like some of those quotes were taking shots at Daboll because he might have been a bit too over the top at times and his temper wasn't great. So I feel like Kafka is better for the players, at least so far, in terms of likability. But then of course, sometimes when you're too nice to these players, no pun intended with the YouTube name, but sometimes when you're too easy on these players, bad stuff happens. Like we saw the Abdul Carter potentially sleeping and missing the walkthrough or the meeting. I don't even want to look into that because he said something else, and if it happens again, I'll take it serious, but for now, I'll just look at it as like a one-off. Apparently, Mike Kafka changed the schedule around, and Abdul Carter was not aware of it. I don't know. I'm going to stay out of it for now. If it happens again, it's something we'll have to talk about, but I think it's just hopefully a one-time thing, and it just was an honest mistake. But anyway, for receivers in this game, I mean, it's funny because a lot of people on Twitter the past couple weeks were talking about Wan'Dale Robinson, who I believe is in a contract year. People were talking about his next contract and what he may potentially get. And I thought Wan'Dale, of course, balled out today. This might have been his best game in the NFL. 9 catches, 156 yards, a touchdown, and he made some really tough catches. There was even the one where Jameis kind of threw him a hospital ball, and he dove for it, and a Lions safety also dove for it, and he still almost caught it. Of course, it fell incomplete, but he looks really good out there. I know Wan'Dale's going to have his limitations and whatnot, and he was a recipient of the trick play, or the first trick play out of 2 in this game, where both were successful, and that play was awesome. It was like a 3rd and 1, right? It was 3rd and 1, and Singletary got the handoff, and they threw it back to Jameis. By the way, not the best throw by Singletary. He threw it too high, and Jameis had to do a little shoulder shimmy to get out of the way, but he threw out a great ball to Wan'Dale, and he had a long touchdown, so that worked out great. And I thought Wan'Dale once again looked fantastic. He just kept moving the chains, and he was just a very important piece in this game. So we'll see what kind of contract he gets. I mean, we'll talk about that stuff during the bye week. Tyrone Tracy, of course, the one big catch for 42 yards. He had 3 catches, 68 yards. There was also a nice screen call by Kafka on, I think, a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. I believe it was late in the game, and it might have been like the 3rd quarter, and Tyrone Tracy picked up an easy first down. Isaiah Hodgins had the 2 catches, 42 yards, had the touchdown. He had the 1 long catch down the sideline, which once again, great job by Jameis there. Theo Johnson, 3 catches, 77 yards, almost had a touchdown in this game, of course. And I thought Theo looked really good. Like, he made some impressive catches in this game. That 1 catch he made for 14 yards down the left sideline, great throw by Jameis, but I don't know how Theo Johnson held on to that ball. It was a very impressive catch, and one that in most cases, like, a guy will hit the ground and the ball will start popping loose, and they'll say, oh, he didn't control the ball, it's incomplete, but somehow Theo Johnson had strong enough hands to hold on to that, which is funny because we have seen some pretty bad drops at times from Theo Johnson, so it was good to see him at least catch that one. I think he played really well today. And Darius Slayton, only 1 catch for 23 yards, which I think was in the first quarter. I don't know if he got re-injured or something or just did nothing the entire game, but he made that 1 catch early down the left sideline, and it felt like after that we didn't really see any of Darius Slayton, so that was pretty odd. Defensively, the Giants, of course, were without Kayvon once again. Paulson Adebo still out. Tyler Nubin's still out, and Deonte Banks, who had like this hip injury, he missed the game. Doesn't really matter in my opinion. On the bright side, we saw Darius Alexander play a bit more. He had 2 sacks in this game. One of them was, I have to give Dexter Lawrence credit, one of them was because Dexter Lawrence had great pressure up the middle. Bobby Okereke, 6 solo tackles, 1 pass defended. I thought he looked pretty bad at times. He definitely was on the wrong end of a couple plays in this game. Chauncey Golston, he came back, 3 solo tackles. Javon Holland, of course, had the interception that went off of Amon-Ra St. Brown's hands. And the Giants don't get many interceptions, so I'll take what I can get. Dane Belton, 4 solo tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defended, and I thought he looked pretty bad. There were definitely big plays given up where Dane Belton should have stopped the guy with the ball and just didn't. On the Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, first long touchdown run, the one in the early 4th quarter, Dane Belton was pretty much on his way to hip drop tackling him and just basically let him go. And Jahmyr Gibbs, of course, took off and ran for another 50 yards and scored a touchdown. So not a big fan of that performance. Cordell Flott, I feel like we saw maybe 1 or 2 good plays, but also like 3 or 4 bad ones. Nick Jones, I think, made 1 play in this game that was somewhat impactful. Drew Phillips, his usual game, up and down. Abdul Carter, 3 solo tackles, okay. Still no sacks for him, of course. That's just not happening yet, but hopefully at some point we get there. Raheem Nunez-Roches had a big sack in this game. I think that forced a Lions punt on that drive. We saw Zaire Barnes make a couple plays in this game where even like Flanagan Fowles went down with an injury at one point. So the Giants are getting very thin at linebacker. Of course, it feels like 1,000 years ago, Micah McFadden got hurt, but he's gone too, and Darius Muasau, is he out too? I don't even know. So they're down to like so many different linebackers at this point. And with the current state or the current shape that Bobby Okereke's in, the Giants linebacker room just needs a lot of work, and it looks pretty bad. I was going to go into my notes section, but then I saw the Malik Nabers tweet, and I just have to get into this. So Malik Nabers tweeted this, and then he deleted it, which I see why he deleted it. But the tweet was, "Sometimes I think they be making us lose on purpose, cause it's no way, bro, you throw the ball instead of running to make them burn 2 timeouts. Then you don't kick the field goal. Then they have to go down and score. Football common sense. Am I missing something?" That is from Malik Nabers' Twitter that he deleted. And that, of course, is probably talking about the decision by Mike Kafka to go for it on 4th and goal from the 6, which is a decision, once again, I agreed with. Now, who am I to say Malik Nabers is wrong, but this is an opinionated thing. I thought Kafka did the right thing. So anyway, yeah, kind of a weird moment there for Giants players on social media, but I get it. I mean, I'd be frustrated too if my team kept losing like this, and obviously he's injured, so it makes it even more frustrating that you're not out there, but yeah, probably not something he should be tweeting, but it is what it is. We started out this game with a Jameis Winston speech. That was always fun. I love watching those. It was something like, "We're outside, but we're inside. We're outside, but we're inside." I don't know why he kept saying that, but I was like, all right, well, sure. I guess it kind of worked because the Giants came out and looked pretty good right away. So first drive, the Giants had the 23-yarder to Slayton on the play action out route. It was a very nice design play. I thought Slayton ran a good route, and that was Slayton's only catch of the game, so once again, don't know where the hell he went. They drew Aiden Hutchinson off sides to make it a 3rd and 2, and then Mike Kafka calls the first of the 2 trick plays where Singletary acts like he's running to the right, throws it back to Jameis. Jameis gets out of the way of the pass rusher, and they launch it to a wide-open Wan'Dale Robinson for a 39-yard touchdown. And I saw the stat on the broadcast, or I heard it, that this is the most opening drive touchdowns for the Giants in a season since 2007, their Super Bowl year. So this is the 6th time this year the Giants have had an opening drive that led to a touchdown. So that says a lot about, well, Brian Dable, too, with the play calling. But also Kafka says a lot about Jackson Dart, because I think a lot of those were with Jackson Dart in the lineup. So Giants go up 7-0. 3rd and 7. Jared Goff got sacked by Darius Alexander. Brian Burns and Abdul Carter got some pressure there as well, and that took them out of field goal range. That was big. It forced a punt by Detroit. The Giants then went 3 and out. They had 2 runs, and then there was a back shoulder pass to Hodgins that he just did not see coming, so that was a wasted drive. Zaire Barnes had a good tackle on Gibbs for a 3-yard loss. Then a 2nd down and 13 over the middle, which would have gained about 20 or 25 yards, to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He dropped it, which he's had some drop issues this year, St. Brown. And Cordell Flott was in coverage. that wasn't the best coverage, but I've seen worse. It was fine. It was somewhat near him. Lions had the punt once again. 3rd and 6, Wandale runs up and out from the slot. That gained 12 yards and got the first down. The next play was a play action pass to Wandale, who ran the deep crosser, and he picked up 40 yards on this play. I thought it was an awesome throw by Jameis Winston. 2nd and 8, Wandale got destroyed by Brian Branch, but he held on. The penalty also added some more yards. It was like a helmet-to-helmet hit. Brian Branch, I think, has had some dirty moments too, which I liked him a lot coming out of college. I was actually fine with the Giants taking him in the first round that year, and he's been good, but sometimes he does make some dirty plays. 3rd and goal, Winston throws out of the back of the end zone. It was good pressure by Detroit, but Jameis also went through like all of his reads and couldn't find anybody, so kind of just is what it is. This was a crazy stat as well. I saw this one on the broadcast. So this was the first time since 2020 where the Giants had a lead after the first quarter of 10 points or more, which is like really hard to believe that they didn't get out to a better start in any game over the past 5 years, even during their 2022 season. It's just really strange to, I don't know, like it just doesn't make sense to me, but apparently that's a thing. So Younghoe Koo made the 21-yard field goal, 10-0 Giants. Brock Wright had the 20-yard catch for the Lions in the flat. Flanagan Fowles got injured. There was the very late flag on Dane Belton, who he did hit Amon-Ra St. Brown too early in the end zone, but usually like you count about 3 seconds, and if there's no flag, you're good. This flag came out maybe 5 or 6 seconds after this play happened. I was like, what the hell? Like, thought the play was over, and then you see a flag, and of course the Lions get a first down on like the 3-yard line, so that was unfortunate. Zaire Barnes had a tackle for loss on David Montgomery on the 1-yard line. That was a big play. Goff had heavy pressure on a play action pass. This was the one where Brian Burns should have sacked him. I'm very surprised he didn't sack him, and Goff's not the most mobile guy, but he did a good job on that play of just somehow getting out of the way. But Brian Burns, who of course is either leading in sacks or up there in sacks for the lead, he usually converts these, and just somehow he missed them that time. But Jared Goff did get flagged for intentional grounding because when he threw it out of the back of the end zone, there was nobody in sight. So it's like kind of went down as a sack, even though it didn't go down as a sack. Then there was the screen pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown for an 11-yard touchdown. That was pretty unacceptable. I mean, 11 yards out, it's their last down to try and score a touchdown, and you just let that happen. Like, that was pretty embarrassing, and it doesn't surprise me. The Lions are good at this stuff, but like, if you're the Giants, I mean, the tackling was really bad today. I can't blame Shane Bowen's scheme exactly in this particular game. I just think the tackling was really bad, and the angles these players were taking were really bad. So this was kind of a reflection on the roster and the lack of talent on the roster, in my opinion. But of course, in many other situations, you can blame Shane Bowen for dropping too many guys back in coverage or not sending a blitz when he should have, and blah, blah, blah. But in this particular case, I think it was really the players just not executing and making tackles and letting up these massive gains when if they had good players out there, that wouldn't be happening. So that made it 10-7. Jameis had a play action, Tyrone Tracy wide open for a 41-yard catch. I think the Lions blitzed pretty much everybody. They left one safety back, and everybody else was in man coverage. So it was like cover one man, I guess. And just somehow the guy that was guarding Tyrone Tracy just didn't get him, and he would just had the entire right side of the field to himself. Like, it's funny because on the broadcast view, you just see him running by himself, and you're like, is anybody going to get him? And of course, eventually the camera pans to some Lions defenders in the background, but it's like he gained a lot on that play, and it was just a pretty easy one, so we'll take those. Devin Singletary ran for 13 yards. It was tough running up the middle. Good blocks, though, by the Giants' offensive line. 3rd and 8, Jameis found Hodgins in the back of the end zone, got 2 feet down for a 12-yard touchdown. It was a great catch and honestly a really good throw as well. So that made it 17-7 Giants, their second 10-point lead of the day. We got a second sack from Darius Alexander. It was great pressure from Dexter Lawrence, who came up the middle and flushed Goff out of the pocket, and he just fell into the waiting arms of Darius Alexander. 3rd and 2, Singletary in the house formation came up a yard short. Didn't like that call very much. Like, why run out of house formation and maybe do something a bit more direct when you're under center? Like, that would have made more sense, but they come up a yard short. They were on their own 22, so the Giants had the punt. That was a wasted opportunity. Javon Holland's ankles got cooked by Jahmyr Gibbs. He had a huge run for 49 yards, and Dane Belton tackled him at the 5-yard line. Next play, though, was a play-action pass to Jahmyr Gibbs, who had that really cool touchdown where his body went out of bounds at like the 2-yard line, but he reached over and was able to score a touchdown, so that was a great play by him. So 17-14 Giants at this point. Eric Gray drops the kickoff and returns it to the 18-yard line, so just bad field position. But this play made up for it. Gunnar Olszewski had a pass interference called in his favor on, it was Rocky Yassin who had the pass interference, so that set up the Giants on their own 45-yard line, automatic first down. Jameis had a corner route to Wandale that picked up 26 yards. Then there was the 3rd and 7, heavy blitz by the Lions defense, and Jameis threw that hospital ball to Wandale where Wandale dove for it and a Lions cornerback or safety dove for it. It looked like a very dangerous play, and I think Wandale was like grabbing at his wrist at first. I thought he was hurt. But anyway, Younghoe Koo hit from 44 yards, made it 20-14 Giants. Nick Jones, this was the Nick Jones play, led up a big gain of 30. It was the seam route to Khalif Raymond. He was on the slot on the right, and Khalif Raymond had a gain of 30 to get the Lions in field goal range, and Bates made a field goal to make it 20-17 at half, which, if you look at how the game ended, those 3 points were pretty big. Third quarter now, Drew Phillips made back-to-back really good tackles on Jahmyr Gibbs in the flat. I think Gibbs and trying to think of who are the most difficult players in the league to tackle one-on-one in the flat. I would say Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, of course, has to be up there. Those are definitely the top 2, but I don't know, maybe leave in the comments if I'm forgetting anybody. I'm trying to think of who are the best running backs in the NFL right now. Then Jamison Williams had a big screen that went for 30 yards or so, but it got called back due to an ineligible man downfield. And Jamison Williams actually had no catches in this game, which is really rare. And speaking of very rare, I just saw Brandon Aubrey miss a field goal. So, all right, back-to-back rare things. The Lions ran a screen to Gibbs on 3rd and 16. They did not pick up the first down, so they had the punt. 2nd and 9, great run by Tyrone Tracy. He broke a couple of tackles. Once again, I was really surprised by Tyrone Tracy's lack of efficiency because watching the game, it felt like the guy ran the ball well, but it was only 3.1 yards per carry. Daniel Bellinger had a ball go right through his hands up the seam. That would have been a first down. There was a wheel route to Theo Johnson, great catch down the right sideline, and then Jameis Winston on 3rd and 9 had a pass batted down, and that forced a punt. Amon-Ra St. Brown had an out and up that went for 30 yards on Corey Black. Then Amon-Ra gains 20 yards on Drew Phillips, who missed a tackle. 3rd and 4 on a David Montgomery shotgun toss. That went for a first down. Then Nacho had a big sack on Jared Goff. That made it 2nd and 18. And on that celebration, the refs did not see this, which the Giants got very lucky for. On the celebration that Nunez Roches had, he actually kicked Jared Goff in the head. Now, 9 times out of 10, of course, with quarterbacks and trying to protect their head, which I get, they're going to throw that flag and give you 15 yards, automatic first down. Somehow they missed it, and I don't think it can be reviewed, so it is what it is. But I think at first, when I saw him celebrating, I saw it happen, and I'm like, oh. And I know the crowd reacted too. If you go back and watch the game, you can hear, I don't know if it was from the replay or from when the Lions fans saw it happen live, but you can hear the Lions fans go oh, what the, he kicked him in the head. So that was a surprise. The Giants got away with that, but I guess in the end it didn't matter. 3rd and 11, Javon Holland had the interception off of St. Brown's hands. The Giants took over at their own 15. 3rd and 3 to Tyrone Tracy. It was a screen that got executed perfectly for a 19-yard gain. 4th quarter begins. 3rd and 4, Tracy ran for a 7-yard gain, first down. Singletary next play, inside handoff for 9 yards. Then we had the amazing trick play, one of my favorite Giants plays I've watched in my 15 to 20 years of fandom right here. The Philly special, Gunnar Olszewski somehow was able to throw the curl to Jameis, and Jameis honestly did a good job of adjusting to that ball for a freaking quarterback. So Jameis comes down with it, was able to basically throw the linebacker off of him, get in the end zone. Giants go up 27-17. And I'm thinking at this point, they might win this game. This is me. I would have felt stupid because I said on here last week that I gave the Giants no chance of winning this game. And here they were with a legitimate chance to win this game. Anyway, 27-yard crosser to St. Brown. Then Gibbs had the 49-yard touchdown. Dane Belton, horrible missed tackle. Cordell Flott missed as well. And Javon Holland actually had a chance at the end to get him. He missed him. So that made it 27-24 right away. And that's why the Giants really won time of possession, because of these Jahmyr Gibbs giant plays that would just go for 50 yards. And the Giants would get the ball right back and they would take their time on these drives. Then we had the Jameis moment. It was really the Jameis Winston full experience today, where he made some very impressive throws where you were like, oh, why'd you throw that? And then it got completed and it looked great in the end. But then there was this one where he could have ran the bootleg and checked it down to his first option or his first read, decided to go for the second read, and it got intercepted. So not the best idea for Jameis. I would say that was like his one big mistake in this game. But then there was a bad drop by Jameson Williams on a 3rd and 8. It was an out route, and Cordell Flott was in decent coverage. He dove, and it looked like at first he might have tipped it, but he didn't tip it. But at least he made it a tougher catch for Jameson Williams, who doesn't really have the best hands. So he dropped it. The Giants get the ball back. They had a bad delay of game where Wandale lined up on the wrong side, and that forced a delay of game. But then Jameis Winston on 3rd and 10 near his own end zone had the 30-yard floater down the left sideline to Isaiah Hodgins. This was the kind of play where it's like, I don't know how this got completed, but that was awesome. Don't do it again, but that was really cool. So that gained 30 yards. 3rd and 6, Jameis corner route to Theo Johnson was overthrown, but there was holding on Brian Branch. You can see when he's running the corner route, as he was getting out of his break, Theo Johnson, there was some holding on like Theo Johnson's thigh, and all right, it was a little ticky-tacky, but whatever. The Giants got the call. We'll take it. 3rd and 17, Jameis Winston nearly got sacked. He spins out, basically is in Andrew Thomas's lap, and then throws a bomb to Theo Johnson for 39 yards to the left sideline. And this was also an awesome play. Like, this throw and the one to Hodgins earlier on this drive were two incredible Jameis Winston plays. 2nd and 7, Tracy gains 11 yards on a tough run. Singletary on 3rd and goal runs to the left and went nowhere. It was weird because Singletary just looked like he was not even moving forward on that play. Like, he just got the ball and took like these little baby steps and was trying to let blocks develop, and nothing developed, and he just got stopped for a pretty big loss. And then, of course, we have Kafka on 4th and goal from the 6. He goes for it. They pass it to Theo Johnson in the back of the end zone. It got tipped first by Rock Yassin. So once again, I was fine with that decision. I had no issue with Kafka going for it there. I would have done the same thing. Maybe in hindsight, it was the wrong thing, and it's tough to really trust the Giants defense because they've had so many breakdowns this year in this type of situation. But they did hold them to a field goal next drive, so I guess in hindsight it could have worked if they just kicked the field goal, but at the time I was fine with this. So anyway, Lions get the ball back. Taylor Decker has a holding call. Brian Burns tried to disengage, and he was still holding his jersey, so flag on the left tackle there. 2nd and 11, dump off over the middle. Gibbs picked up 13 yards. That was a killer, low-key. Like, that's a forgotten about play, but that was a killer. The Giants then forced a 4th down. It was, Dane Belton had a good tackle on Gibbs in the flat. I have to include that one. But also, Barnes, the linebacker on the Giants, made a good tackle on Gibbs to make it a 4th down. And then Jake Bates, this was his career high, a 59-yard field goal, which the Giants have been here so many times where a kicker comes out and makes a field goal that he probably shouldn't have made. Man, I'm looking at red zone behind me. I've seen like 3 separate Trevor Lawrence interceptions that just look awful. And he might have more. I've just seen 3 myself, but they're just like the worst looking interceptions. I just don't know how the Jaguars are possibly in jeopardy of losing this game. I don't know what their record is, Jacksonville. They might have like 8 wins, and they are probably the worst 8-win team we have in the league right now. So anyway, it tied a Detroit Lions all-time record for longest field goal in franchise history. Matt Prater did it twice, and now Jake Bates makes it from 59. It looked like it was going to sail right. Of course, it stayed down the middle towards the end, and that was it. So yeah, it was not ideal. And it's just, these things happen with the Giants, whether it was Brandon Aubrey making his long field goal or even Graham Gano back when he was on the Panthers in 2018. Like, these guys always make these high 50s and 60-plus yard field goals late in the game. It feels like it's a lock every single time for the Giants' opponents to make these crazy-ass field goals. And I felt no different here. I was like, well, he's going to make it. I mean, let's not act like we haven't seen this movie before. So it's a shame, but that's usually what happens. In other news, I'm watching Red Zone once again. Looks like the Browns are going to win, which I can't say Shedeur looked great. He did make a couple nice throws, but he's breaking that streak of Browns rookie starting quarterbacks to win their first start, which was a crazy stat. If you didn't see this stat, it was the Browns have not had a rookie starting quarterback win their debut since like 1997. They've had, I think, 17 different quarterbacks, and they've gone 0-17 in their first start. And somehow Shedeur Sanders, which, yeah, it's a very easy matchup, and honestly, like, the Cleveland defense is winning them this game. Even as a Shedeur fan, I can be honest. But it looks like Cleveland, unless they blow a 24-3 lead with 8 minutes to go, it looks like they're going to break that streak. So good for Shedeur. I'm still very happy they took Jackson Dart. I can admit when I'm wrong, and looking at it right now, Jackson Dart was by far the right choice, although I think Sanders could have a future as a high-end backup or maybe even a low-end starter, but we'll see. Anyway, Giants try to get something going after that long field goal was made. They had the first play, which was a corner route to Wandale, and one of the defenders, it might have been Amik Robertson, made a great play on Detroit. Like, if that wasn't tipped, Wandale would have had the ball near midfield. So I'm not saying he would have scored. Then Jameis took like a post route shot that fell incomplete. So they went to overtime. The Lions, I saw this stat coming into overtime, hadn't lost 2 games in a row since the middle of 2022, which is a pretty insane stat. Like, if you think about it, the Giants lose 2 games in a row every 2 weeks, if you think about it, right? So to not lose 2 in a row for like 3 straight years, it's over 3 years now, is like, it's ridiculous. So, hey, shout out to the Lions. But Jahmyr Gibbs, first play, 69-yard touchdown. Okereke, Dane Belton had a chance. Dexter Lawrence was out once again on that play. Don't want to rehash it, but just unacceptable. The Giants put together a pretty nice drive at the end of this game. Of course, we know how it ends, but incomplete pass to Bellinger got knocked away. Outside handoff to Tracy, got no gain. Throw was behind Theo Johnson, went incomplete. So now we're down to 4th and 10. Jameis ran for a first down, picked up 11 yards. There was a offsides on Detroit anyway. Of course, the Giants rightfully declined. They got the first down. Theo Johnson, I wrote down, had a sensational catch on Amik Robertson. I think this was the one down the left sideline where I don't know how he held on to it. It was a very like hard throw, and just Theo Johnson, who has had some rough drops so far in his career, was able to hold on to that very nice pass from Jameis. 3rd and 2, there was a rollout, dump-off pass to Tracy. It was a good play design. It gave Jameis a couple options, dump it down or throw it to the tight end or just run it yourself. So that was a good play call in my opinion. 2nd and 7, they had Wandale on a corner route, but Jameis overthrew him. 3rd and 7, they ran the ball, which this one kind of pissed me off. 3rd and 7, I know they're in 4-down territory, but they decide to run the ball, pick up only 2 yards, and that makes it 4th and 5 with the game on the line. And then, of course, Jameis had not been sacked all day, but you can only keep Aiden Hutchinson contained for so long. And I think Illuminor did a decent job on this rep, right? Jameis did hold on to the ball for a bit too long, like that clock in his head should have went off, but Aiden Hutchinson was able to get to the top of the pocket and just get away from Illuminor and sack Jameis, and that was the game. So that was an unfortunate way to end it, and the Giants, of course, they really should have won this game once again. But this is just what bad teams do. Now, I do have to say I was impressed with Mike Kafka to have these guys ready and really be in a position to win this game multiple times. But at the same time, like, we have to see it happen at some point. You can't keep relying on like, oh, we're up 10 every game. Like, no, you have to close out these games every once in a while. And it just seems like this team can never do it. Like, it feels like 1 out of every 7 or 8 times they close out these games where they're up 10. It's just like, you cannot do it this often. It feels very like 2015-ish to a degree, the Tom Coughlin's last year, where the Giants defense sucked, kind of like this team. The offense was much better that year, but still the Giants would get up big in these games. They would be up late in the 4th quarter, and the defense with, who was on that team that year? It was like rookie Landon Collins, like DJ Swearinger and Tevin Wade. Like, they had the worst secondary that year, and like, they would just let up these big comebacks and end up losing games that they shouldn't have. And it feels like a lot of the same's happening this year. But once again, like, it's embarrassing. And I think a lot of today was the lack of talent. I don't really want to sit here and blame Shane Bowen for every single mistake the defense makes. Like, it's not Shane Bowen's fault that Dane Belton can't take a proper angle to a ball carrier. It's not his fault that Bobby Okereke can't shed a block from an offensive guard when Jahmyr Gibbs is running right past him. It's not Shane Bowen's fault that Dexter Lawrence was nicked up and had to sit on the bench for one of the more important plays of the game. So I don't want to be like a Shane Bowen apologist. I think he's bad and deserved to be fired a long time ago. But it also wouldn't be fair for me to not call out the players for not doing what they're supposed to do. So anyway, I think that's all I got. next week is the final game until the bye, where during the bye week, I definitely want to do like a coaching search deep dive type video, maybe answer some questions, do like a longer video and just go over a bunch of stuff because a lot of shit's happened this year, as we know. The Giants have now lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row. They should have won 1, 2, 3 of these games, maybe 4. And to close out the year, once again at New England next week, where I don't even know if Jackson Dart's going to play. You know my feelings about it. I would just sit him out. And clearly I think this team can compete with Jameis anyway, so I don't really expect them to go on Monday Night Football and make an ass out of themselves, but I guess it's possible, but I still think they'll compete. Then, out of the bye, hosting Washington, hosting Minnesota. Both of those teams look really bad right now. Washington looks worse, but like, JJ McCarthy looks really bad. So I'm not even like, I don't like Joe Schoen at this point. I don't think he should be employed. I think he's done a bad job. And if Dable went, I think he should go too. But I have to say this. I give him credit for passing on JJ McCarthy when people like myself were fine taking him and really wanted a quarterback. He did the right thing taking Nabers, who, yeah, I know that Nabers may once in a while ruffle some feathers. And he had that tweet today that he probably shouldn't have posted. But the guy is like a future Hall of Fame talent. There's no doubt about that. And he also had the chance to take Shedeur Sanders this year, where that was another thing I wanted him to do. I mean, look, my quarterback track record, there are some rough misses in there. Whether it's Rosen, Richardson, now J.J. McCarthy. We'll see about Shedeur Sanders. But this is why I'm on YouTube and not an NFL front office. But I have to give Joe Schoen credit for that. It's like, at least he took the quarterback. And whether it was Dable who wanted him or I don't know. Let's just keep that away from here. Let's just say simply that Joe Schoen's the GM. He made the pick and he got the quarterback right. I know it's only been like, 7 games of Jackson Dart, not even 5 or 6 games. But right now, looking at it, I think Jackson Dart is pretty freaking good. Like, I feel confident about him being a good quarterback in the league. I have my concerns about injuries and maybe the deep accuracy and the arm strength not being elite, things like that. But the guy's a gamer. He just knows how to run around the pocket with the eyes in the back of his head and makes these really impressive throws. And he's a guy that players can rally behind. That was one of the things about Daniel Jones I just did not like about him, is that he's not a guy that players are going to like really have faith in. Maybe the Colts do now because everything's great, right? It's early in the relationship. It's like the honeymoon period. But after like the first playoff loss with Daniel Jones on the Colts, are they going to feel the same way? I mean, probably not. And I had someone say in the comments on my Russell Wilson video, like, oh, when are you going to apologize about Daniel Jones, you clown, or were you hypocrite or something? And it's like, dude, like, we've seen this happen in 2022. Like, do you not remember how that was like? Like, everybody was making comments about that too. Like, oh, Daniel Jones, you owe him an apology. I'm like, all right, let's see how it plays out. And then they play a real team in Philly and they get blown out and the game is 28-0 at halftime. And I do think this Colts team is way better than what the Giants had in 2022. But I still don't think Daniel Jones and the Colts are going to make the AFC Championship game. I'd be, not shocked by it, but I'm still going to bet that they're going to get out in the divisional round. I guess it depends who they play, but I'm still not sold that a smart defensive coordinator can't figure out Daniel Jones. He's been getting figured out more lately. And even today, like in the Chiefs game, there was an easy pick 6 that he should have had, but unfortunately, it's funny because it wasn't even one defender on the Chiefs who dropped a pick 6. There were 2 Chiefs defenders essentially fighting over the ball in the air that should have been a pick 6. And then, of course, with Daniel Jones' luck, it fell incomplete. So, no, I'm not going to apologize to him yet. I think maybe has he exceeded my expectations this year? I can say that. But unless he makes it to the AFC Championship game or something, I don't really want to get on here and apologize to Daniel Jones. I still think it's a great situation. They get timely turnovers. Their running back is on pace for 2,000 yards and 25 touchdowns. That helps anybody. So let's let it play out first. But anyway, yeah, I mean, look, I have to give Joe Schoen credit about getting Jackson Dart and not getting these other guys in the past couple of years that some Giants fans, and myself included, wanted. So although I don't really like the state of the roster and the record's horrendous, and Schoen has really not put together a roster much better than the one Gettleman left him with. I mean, this one's younger and has more hope, I guess, but still, you think about the 2022 roster, that was a lot of Gettleman guys. And I will always say that I think 2022 was a product of good coaching and just good vibes rather than Joe Schoen in one offseason putting together a great roster, because a lot of that roster, once again, was not Joe Schoen. So anyway, that will do it. We'll find out what happens with Joe Schoen in the offseason. I'm very interested to see what he says in the bye-week presser, which I think we're still going to get. And once again, we'll definitely make a video talking about some top coaching candidates and who I would want and things like that. So yeah, that's all coming. But we do have Monday coming up versus the Patriots at New England. Right now, the Giants are, I don't even see a spread because I'm sure the Giants, I don't think the books know what quarterback is playing for the Giants yet. I think New England made it through their game pretty unscathed. I guess Will Campbell got hurt. That was one pretty big one. But I think Drake May made it out the game okay, so I'm not sure why there's no spread right now, but it could be the Giants not knowing who their quarterback is yet. Once again, maybe they sit out Jackson Dart through the bye week. I'm not opposed to it, but if they play him, then that's fine too. I really don't care. They know more than I do in that regard. So yeah, probably a long reaction today, but if you made it to the end, I appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you guys next time.